It is a loss. It is. They're still going to be strong as because they've still got. They were just for the last couple of years. They've been so loaded. So you can take a few spokes off the wheel and it's going to keep turning. But those spokes are starting to fall, and you see Crichton another one go as well. I'm going to give their off-season moves a D.
All right. Welcome into the Lads Talking Footy podcast. It's myself, Sam, joined with two of the lads here. This will be a little bit unfamiliar. It's not
the lads are back.
It's all three of us in. You can hear all
men
three.
Back at the table,
full roster.
Yes,
and what a treat it is. We've got a lot to look forward to for the upcoming year with us. We're back doing our own thing again.
Yep. Feels good to be back.
It
boys
does.
Feels like we never left, eh?
Never left.
Shout out Caleb. Shout out my brother Caleb Tana for that intro as well. Sweet intro.
That was fantastic.
Yeah.
Nice and crisp.
Yeah, shout out these as well.
Now the boys cracked into our beers. I'm going to crack into mine now. Over the break, we was in Sydney living it up, and over there we've got an ex-NRL player who's running his own thing, Denon Kemp, Mr. Bloke in a bar. So I thought, what better way to kick off our first show in the NRL segment by getting us a couple of blokes to enjoy with the upcoming potty.
Yeah.
Now, a little bit of admin to get through before we jump into the actual show. So before we get into the footy chat, what goes hand in hand with footy, Jordan?
Ooh, well, they're quite big boys, aren't they, the old footy players? So you'd have to assume they have to go do a bit of gymming.
Oh,
of gym work.
You'd be bang on the money, mate, there. Boys love the gym. Now, Simon, what goes hand in hand with the gym there, mate?
Well, yeah, I'm a bit of a gym aficionado, and I'd say the one thing every gym user uses, and that's supplements.
Oh, you'd be bang on the money there. I've seen you've been using a few of them over there, mate.
Yeah,
all natural.
Sketchy supplements, I see.
Hey, no. Don't check the gym bag.
A few more pounds than the last time we did the show.
It's my insulin.
Now, supplements, mate. Alpha Supplements, they've got everything that you need. Now, go over there and check them online, or you can find them in store. Hit the link in our bio, and when you've found what you want, flick in the Lads Talking Footy code, and for a whopping 15% off your order. Nice. Now, go do yourself a favour and load up on some good sups and start pushing some tin.
Ooh.
Shout out Alpha Subs.
All right, now let's get into the footy chat. So we've got a little thing upcoming for the NRL season. We've got a multi-post to kick off with us. So basically what we'd do is just run down what we're going to be doing with that multi-post and let you know what you guys are looking forward to. So each week we'll be putting up a post of a 2-leg multi and a value bet from each of the lads. Now, we'll be looking to track our stakes. So we'll be putting on that post sort of what we're putting on it and what the value is, like we do with our normal bets with Mark on the show. But what we'll be doing is our completion rate, how it's looking, and how our bank balance is running. Now, no fun, just the three of us.
So there's no hiding now, boys.
I'm not running negative. My balance is going to be healthy by any odds necessary.
Yeah, you're going to be going down to like $1 value bets by the end of the season.
Bigger Hail Marys. Yeah. Now, it's no fun just doing the three of us. So we're going to be introducing a fourth person. Now,
okay.
I don't know if you guys have watched a bit of Top Gun, Top Gear.
Yes,
I've watched Top Gun too, and that's a great movie.
Great movie.
Save that for another day.
Now, at the end of the show, we're familiar with what happens. A car gets raced around the track.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. I love
big Top Gear fan. Yeah.
Who races that car?
Stigulus McGigglus, the Stig.
The man in all white with no face.
Now, it's we don't know who the Stig is, and we're going to be running the same thing here. So only myself knows who the Stig is. You guys are going to be running solo on this, in the dark on it. And what we'll be doing is we'll be revealing the Stig at the end of the season, and he'll be coming on the show to reveal.
No. Well, I tell you what, if he's been following along with our shows with Mark and been following our multis with them, I think he's coming in with pretty high levels of confidence.
He's very excited. He's very excited. He's been doing his homework, and he reckons he's got a few things to cook up.
Okay.
Now, I spoke to you guys about this before as well. It's no fun just sort of running along and doing this if there's no consequences.
Oh.
So do we have any just ideas on the spot of maybe what a punishment could be?
Ooh. Keep it sports related. Damn.
The loser has to get a WNBA jersey of
No.
the winners.
There he is.
We could do something along the lines of wearing like an opposing jersey at a home game of, say, like the Warriors or something. But
I like that. I've been.
I'm a bit of a gambler though. I want the stakes even higher than that.
So I spoke to you a little while ago about
Yeah.
potentially doing something at the NRL season with
Yeah.
some of our fans, and we
Okay.
jump in together and do sort of like a drinking games or a rugby league
Oh,
Olympics,
yes, of
if
course.
you will.
Yep.
And now the Stig will probably be there along with us. So if he's coming dead last, he's going to be facing the on the chopping block as well.
Yeah.
I reckon we do something there,
Okay.
some sort of punishment.
Yeah,
in
some
front
sort of
everyone.
punishment. What, drinking sort of consequence?
We can find something close to the
Yardy?
time. If you guys out there can think of anything as well, get back at
Yeah,
us, jump into the
100%.
DMs, and let you know what you'd like to
Yeah.
see.
The gap in completion rate and number of shots or
Okay.
vessels.
I
Oh,
do
yeah.
like that, actually. That's a very good idea.
Yeah, I don't think anyone wants to
Punishes
see
them,
some
yeah.
near 30-year-olds do a yardie. So.
But yeah, if it's close, and you only just lost, then the punishment's not so severe. If
Yeah,
if
okay.
you shit the bed, then you might shit the bed.
Nah, and the famous
You should
words
be
of
punished.
Dominic Toretto, if you lose by an inch, it doesn't matter if you lose by an inch or a mile. I think it's the other way around,
Other way
but
around.
losing's
Yeah.
losing. So I reckon the
Okay.
punishment has to be as severe no matter what.
All right, we'll think of something else then.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm
upcoming
saying all this
season.
and then I'm going to probably come last.
Upcoming season, lots to look forward to. So I've got a little list here of a few teams that have had a few key gains and a few key losses. So I'll read out what key gains we've got, what key losses, and where they finished last year, and we'll just have a brief discussion on
Okay.
it. So first up, the Warriors. Key gains, we've got Chance Nickel-Klokstad, Mitch Barnett, Marita Nakore, Tamare Marden, Dylan Walker, Luke Metcalf. Key losses, Reece Walsh, Ewan Aitken, Dejon Arce, Aaron Penne, Ben Murdoch, Masilla, finished 15th last year. What do we think's in store for the Warriors this year?
15th, is that one above the wooden spoon? I
Two
tell you
now
what.
this year, with the extra team in
Yeah,
the competition.
well, exactly. So they'll gain no matter what. Well, unless they come 16th.
Yeah.
But I like those signings. I actually do like those
really
signings.
do.
I'm a big fan of the Mitch Barnett signing. I actually still think Dylan Walker's got a lot left in the tank from what I've seen from him last year.
Yeah.
Especially as an interchange player, he'll be pretty vital in that interchange role. Chance Nickel-Klokstad, he's a good player. He's always been a solid player, but
That's where I'll stop you. I'm quite interested on this one. We've gone for almost a straight swap with Reece Walsh, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of up in the air sort of news around who's actually
Yeah.
going to be playing fullback, if it's going to be him, if it's going to be Tamari
Tamati,
Marden.
yep.
Exactly.
And we've got someone that was an established fullback
Yep.
at the Raiders and a Kiwis player, so I'm looking forward to seeing him back in that Warriors
Yep.
jumper as well.
yeah, it's a lot of solid, safe players.
Yeah.
You're not taking a gamble on someone like a Reece Walsh that's pretty young and you don't know what you're going to get. You know what you're going to get with the Chance Nickel-Klokstad, and I like it, but I don't think it changes the world. If I'm gonna rank these signings with a letter grade, I'd give them probably like a B plus.
Yep,
Yeah,
fair.
that's fair. How about
Yeah.
you, Simon? You on the same sort of ballpark with that?
Very similar. I mean, I think what we'll see early in the season is a bit of interchanging between Martin and Nickel-Klokstad. I think because he can
Yeah.
play in the halves as well. We've seen it for the Raiders a little bit.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
And Martin's quite versatile as
yeah,
well.
exactly. So I think what we'll see is maybe a bit of a feeling out stage early in the season for the first couple of rounds.
I'm very
And,
interested
yeah.
to see what they do with the halves if we start seeing like a few issues towards the end of the season with Johnson. We've obviously got Luke Metcalf that's been added there, and we've got Ronald Volkman.
Well, it looks like Johnson's been taking a visit to our boys at Alpha Sups because
He has
he's
been.
looking solid, man. He could be in for a good season.
yeah,
hit
I'd
ups and
like to
stuff.
hope so.
He's rocking the goatee as
Might
well.
find
The
him in the
facial
front.
hair is
Yeah,
deadly, man.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll move on to the Roosters. Now, this is probably the most exciting one on the list for me in terms of what's been added now. There's not a lot to it, but key games, we've got Brandon Smith, Hectic Cheese, Jake Turpin, Jackson Polo, Corey Allen. Key losses, Sam Verrills, Seasua Takiaho, Daniel Sulukua Fafida, Kevin Nagama. Now, I think the game, or the obviously the one that sticks out the most is
The Cheese,
Hectic
yeah.
Cheese. Now, he's been added to a pack with that the electric Connor Watson that we sort of started to see a little bit more at the end
Good
of the
interchange
year.
player.
And I'm looking forward to seeing how they complement each other. We saw how Storm used him and Harry Grant, and we've almost got a reverse role of that here.
Yeah.
So they finished 6th last year. They started to get it together towards the end of the year and finally figure out what they were doing with Joey Manu and Suoliti.
Yeah.
What do you think they've got in store this year, Simon?
Well, I mean, it seemed like a lot of those changes were centered around the forward pack. So, I mean, that's a big what if, because the forward pack is key. It lays your foundation. So, I mean, yeah, Brandon Smith brings you a lot of good value around the 10-metre line when you're on attack, and also, just great man around the ruck, hearty on defence, really solid through the middle. So whether those big men, the changes are a positive or minus, I think will play a difference, but it looks like their backline was, rather unscathed and quite deadly. So I'd see a similar finish, if not maybe a slight improvement.
I like that.
Yeah, I see improvement. I see improvement for the Roosters. Brandon Smith, he's still a fantastic player. He may have been a slightly overshadowed by a Harry Grant maybe in Melbourne, but
Absolutely.
he's still a quality. He'd be in the top 5 echelon of hookers. So I think adding him to the mix in the Roosters will employ a fast pace of footy for them, even more so than they were getting. And you'll see their weapons like your Sawalis and your Tedescos thrive. And I'm expecting big things for the Roosters this year.
So am I, actually. Now, we saw at the beginning of the year, Keary and Sammy Walker, they ended up switching positions back into their sort of standard positions of Sammy Walker's a natural 7 and Keary back to the 6, and we saw a lot of change within the Roosters, and I'm hoping that they stick to the same sort of thing and come out all guns blazing to begin the season. Now we head over to the premiership winners, the Panthers. Key gains, Luke Garner, Tyrone Peachey, Zach Hosking. Now, one that sticks out straight away is Tyrone Peachey. He's an ex-Panthers boy, so it'll be interesting to see how he fits back into that system. Now, key losses, Api Coruscant, Viliami Kikau, Charlie Staines, Sean O'Sullivan. A lot of youth, a lot of experience. Now, obviously, they finished first last year. Jordan, what's your take on that, mate?
So Penrith have kind of not failed, but they haven't done well this offseason, looking at their signings and their losses. Losing Api and losing Viliami is huge in my eyes, because Viliami, honestly, he was like one of the best defenders in the whole entire NRL for me last year. So you lose a bit of that on the edge. Api was playing outstanding as well. He's in that same echelon with Brandon Smith in terms of the top 5 hookers in the competition. So
he was in the argument as to not being actually in that Kangaroos squad. I mean, the rugby league guru, I don't know if you guys are familiar with him and what he talks about. He actually had him in that Kangaroos squad. He was very high on him. So, yeah, it is a big loss for them.
It is a loss. They're still going to be strong as, because they've still got, they were just, for the last couple of years, they've been so loaded. So you can take a few spokes off the wheel and it's going to keep turning, but those spokes are starting to fall, and you see Crichton, another one, go as well. I'm going to give their off-season moves a D.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
It.
Simon, how about you, mate?
I mean, JT's hitting all the right points. The one thing I'll say is that with Uppy, there was that young fella, the name escapes me, sharing the time in the hooker position.
I don't. Is it Mitch Kenny? I know they got
think you
Mitch
might be
Kenny
onto
now,
it there,
but
yeah,
I know
slightly a bit.
Sony Luke has played all the way up with Cleary and Jerome Luai. So he's got a good combination with those guys, all from juniors and stuff, and he will find himself up into that either interchange or starting 9 role. So,
and that's where we might see Tyrone Peachey playing that as that reserve bolster.
I see Tyrone Peachey, and I don't even care about that signing, because I think Tyrone Peachey, from the last I've seen of him, is kind of washed.
Yeah, no, okay, I'm with you there. Now, over the Rugby League World Cup, one player that comes to mind that stood out quite heavily was Liam Martin.
Yeah.
Now, we've got the loss of Viliami Kikau. I'm looking at Liam Martin and seeing what he's going to be doing this year in that Panthers squad. If anyone out there plays Supercoach, I think he was right down on value. So I'm going to be hitting him early and expecting a little bit of value out of him.
Yep.
Now we move on to the Eels. Key gains, Josh Hodgson, Dejon Arce and Matt Dory. Key losses, Isaiah Papali'i, Reid Marnie, Matara Nakore, Oregon Kafusi, Tom Opacek. Finished 4th last year, also made the final. Now, where do we see them here, Simon?
I mean, I was listening to those losses thinking, okay, manageable, dicey.
It just got worse,
yeah, man, those names towards the end.
Like, even someone like a Tom Opacek is a good player.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
players.
I mean, they were patchy in form. It's not like they were consistently beating teams. So losing key players and not replacing them with a lot of great signings, they must have some faith in some young people coming up from the grades. I'm not sure where they're going to fill those positions from. I mean, yeah, I'm definitely probably expecting a rebuild season from the Power
Josh
team.
Hodgson.
Who knows?
I'm the hooker flag bearer today, but Josh Hodgson has always been a really good hooker for me.
Who's also been hitting the supplements hard this
Yeah,
season.
wow, yeah. And he's had a lot of injury concerns over the last few years, and he's no spring chicken. He's getting up there in age as well. So I like what they've done by signing him to try and negate some of the losses you will get from Reed Marnie, because Reed Marnie is elite as well. I don't know why. I've played no games of league at hooker. I don't know why I'm all of a sudden the hooker expert here, but it is a key position, and they are losing someone big in Reed, and I think they've done all right by getting Hodgson, but man, you got Papali'i down as well, Niokore, Kafusi. That's
I'll one up you on the hooker thing there. Now, Dylan Brown had a massive season last year, and one thing that stood out for him the most throughout that season was his running game was huge, and the ability, the time that he had to sort of put people in holes and things like that, and that's what Reed Marnie specialises in, that wide pass off the ruck. Josh Hodgson is more of a fundamental. He'd like to dart, have a few darts out of hooker, get out of there. So I'm interested to see how that affects the Eels moving forward. Yeah, I think it's quite a few losses for, like you said, Simon, a dicey Eels squad, and now you're ruffling up the pack.
Honestly, I've seen that, and I've got our standings, which we'll get to later, and I kind of think, I've put them too high. Yeah, I think they could have been having a slightly down year.
Now, one team that I'm kind of looking forward to seeing how they go this year, the Knights. Now, key gains, Jackson Hastings, Adam Elliott, Tyson Gamble, Jack Hetherington, Greg Maju. Key losses, David Clemmer, Mitch Barnett, Jake Clifford, Anthony Milford, Edric Lee. Now, we see quite a few guys that are big sort of names come off the chopping block, but we also see quite a few big gains. Now, I really like seeing Hastings in there. I think that's going to be fantastic for him developing these young halves that they have within the system. The only thing that concerns me quite a lot is the Ponga situation. So where do you guys stand on that?
I mean, he's super talented. You could slot him into nearly any position in the back line and he's going to thrive. It's just that game managerial aspect of it, which you get from your Hastings. So, no, I've talked myself into it in a matter of sentences. Yeah, I think they'll be all right. I
don't think they read a figure on Hastings' contract other than just teach Ponga and protect Ponga.
Teach this man how to play half. Yeah, that's basically all he's got to do. But, I'm not expecting too much out of the Knights. I like what they're doing. We're getting to the meat and potatoes now with some of these teams and some of the big losses and gains that they're getting because they were some of the poorer teams. But I think I'll give it a C. Yeah, in terms of gains and losses. Greg Marzu is a beast as well.
Exactly, and he'll be going nicely with Dom Young on that edge there. Simon,
I was going to say the losses, players at the twilight end of their careers, Clemmer, Milford, Edric Lee, like names that could give you a couple more seasons.
Edric was still playing all right.
Dolphins.
Yeah, what I'm saying is they're not bad players, but players that may lose to an injury or to poor performance quite quickly. But young, like you said, young signings.
For a team in the Knights position, it's like every other sport. You're trying to build the youth. So to get rid of those players, it's no big loss when you consider the future and where they're trying to go.
Yeah, exactly. One thing that I am quite concerned about with the whole Ponga thing. Now, his season was cut short, obviously, last year for concussion reasons, which has been a huge thing for him. Now, fullbacks don't make a lot of tackles other than those late cover ones, which is where he was putting his body on the line, being a bit reckless and having those issues. Now, the Knights have gone and taken him out of a place where he's sort of isolated and gone and put him up in the front line. And I feel like, as bad as it is to say, that's an area that the Knights are going to be targeted on and guys are going to be running straight at Ponga. So that is quite concerning for him. I hope it goes well and I hope we see him sort of blossom a little bit there, but he's a state of vogue gun at fullback. He's just...
That's his natural position. I would rather see him as a fullback.
Exactly.
I'm not too sure who they're playing there now. It wasn't a name I was fully familiar with.
They're chopping about. There's been like Gagai's been thrown out there. They're trying to figure that one out. So it is interesting. You've paid the man to be a star fullback, and now you've gone and put him in the front line with concussion issues. I hope they sort it out, and I hope he gets a full season under his belt, but it is a little bit of a worry.
They could hide him on the wing, like as most halves do, when they've got a stinger on defense.
I thought you were just saying put him on the wing.
I think we were as well. Yeah, I do agree with that, actually, and we may see a little bit of that. That's a good point.
But as soon as he runs the ball at the line, Hargreaves, everybody else is just head hunting massively. So I think the concussion issues are still going to be a thing this season. But
now the Storm. There's an interesting one. Key gains, Tarek Sims, Elise Katoa, Aaron Penne. Key losses, Brandon Smith, Jesse and Kenny Bromwich, Felice Kafusi, Cooper Johns. Okay. Now, the Storm we saw with the loss of Pappenhausen throughout the season, and they just rode some waves. There was a lot of, I don't know what was going on internally with them, but that juggernaut just was not turning over. Now we look at that forward pack and we see Jesse Kenny, Felice Kafusi all gone. Now I know they're older players, but they know the Storm way, and they know that they can grunt it up and they know what they're doing. So what do you think they've got in store for them this year, mate?
Yeah, so Tarek Sims is a good signing because he's still playing. He's kind of hidden down there in St. George last year.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, he's still a good footy player and he's still playing top level footy. You might have seen it in the Origin series. But yeah, I still think they're going to take another downward turn, the Storm. They started showing that last year, like you alluded to, a bit shaky towards the end and then lost that heartbreaker in the first round of the playoffs to the Raiders.
Yeah.
It's just doesn't have the same juggernaut feel. I fully agree. I give their signings probably about a D. Yeah.
Yeah, Simon, where do you sit on that, mate?
Similar thoughts. I definitely expect the team to finish worse off. But yes, some of those signings will probably alleviate some of those losses. I mean, compared to the Knights, we were talking about players who are a little bit older. Those players had a lot more miles, I think, on the clock in the Storm team. So I think the loss is bigger there.
I will just say, though, the Storm are an infrastructure as a club and as a franchise that I'd put a lot of trust into, though. So even
and they
though
proved doubters wrong every single year.
Yeah, exactly. They'll churn some sort of young talent up from the junior grades and they'll put him in and he'll be sensational, like they did with your Pappenhausens, like they did with all the other stars before them. So the signings that they made in terms of like just tangible assets going in and out is a D, but I wouldn't be surprised to see them in the top 8.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. The only thing that has me a little bit concerned is that forward pack. The Storm play wide and they play early and they rely on that forward pack to be getting them the yards and the hard meters, the nit and grit, so that the likes of Munster and Pappenhausen.
Tell you what, I hope Big Nelson's been hitting the hills because he's going to have a bit of a bigger workload.
He is going to have a big one. I'm interested to see if they keep playing him on that edge, if he rotates to it, or what they do with him. Now the Bulldogs.
Oh, doggies.
Key gains: Reid Marnie, Vilimani Kikau, Andrew Davey, Ryan Sutton. Key losses: Josh Jackson, Paul Vaughan, Aaron Schopp, Jeremy Marshall-King, Jack Hetherington. Now, you touched on it with the Knights earlier about some older guys leaving. We've just seen them go out with the old, in with the new. What do we like here, Simon?
Well, I mean, we're missing Crichton off that list in key new people,
2024.
Right?
Well, that's
is it? Oh, apologies. Yeah, me not doing my homework. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, those signings very good and exciting team to see if they can improve on this.
And then also Cameron Ciraldo coming across from...
I was just about to mention that.
Penrith Panthers.
A key gain that we could talk about. Now, he's obviously familiar with Burden and he brings along Kikau. He's going to be bringing along Crichton in the future. That left edge just got very, very tasty. Now, we're talking about Reid Marnie and his ball and what he did with Dylan Brown. Now, you introduce Burden to it. Now, you put Kikau on that edge and who's outside barking? The Fox. They are very
the freaky
exciting.
man.
Very, very exciting.
I tell you what, those Western Sydney suburbs, they don't have far to travel, old Kikau and Crichton, because they're just going down the road to Canterbury, the Eshays, brah. They want to get a bit closer to the city. So I'm liking the doggies. I like their team in terms of personalities, in terms of players. Burton is one of my favourite players. He's got the nastiest high ball you'll ever see in terms of kicking. And yeah, I like their signings. I like what they're doing. And I'd say they might be up there in terms of the best off-season movements.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I'm very excited for this halves pairing. We bring up Burden and we bring up all the Fox and all these other guys. Now, Kyle Flanagan wasn't in the starting lineup towards the end of the season or at the beginning of last season. And we started to see a bit of a blossoming between him and Burden on how they combine. Now, if you're looking at a halves pairing that is great value for money, Kyle Flanagan being paired along with Burden is fantastic. You get a guy that's just able to steer the ship and get it to Burden bombs on the last. It's
makes sense on paper,
exciting. Yeah. No, I'm liking what the doggies are doing. I'm excited for this year for them. And
Ciraldo was the defensive coach for Penrith, right? And what's been Penrith's main point of success? It's been their goal line defense and just their defense overall. So It's looking good for the doggies. You said you were going to buy a jersey on the show.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's one team I think has turned their like team image around quite quickly, going from a team that most people had written off to a team that the fans get behind, and it's through key signings of like the Fox and the people he's managed to drag along to the team.
We saw Embiid supporting them the other day with the doggies V and on a foul there, so it's going everywhere. Look, Cam Serraldo is a great pickup for him. I know the Warriors were gunning for him as well. I'm kind of gutted that we didn't get him. But what I do like is, yes, he was involved with obviously their top team. He was involved with their juniors, and we're starting to see that with obviously Kikau was probably in his ear. Crichton, he's brought him along. Now, what young guys are coming through the ranks that he has a sort of relationship with that maybe heading over to the doggies. It's exciting times there. Now the Broncos, last one. Key gains, Reece Walsh, Jock Madden, Jesse Arthurs. Key losses, Tamade Martin, Tyson Gamble, Zach Hoskins. Finished 9th last year. Now, they were very exciting before the Kemp curse got them, and they just completely fell off the grid. Where do we see them stacking up this year, mate?
I mean, so I can't really think about the Broncos without thinking like players like Staggs, and all I'm thinking about is the two of them linking up. Is that Staggs with Walsh on his, on his inside or outside? I think that's going to be a deadly pairing. That wherever Walsh plays, I mean, I don't know if they want to put him in the halves.
I've seen it rumored at halfback. I want him at fullback though. I want to see him blossom. So we may even see something through the year where he gets moved into the halves if we're not seeing any luck, and maybe we see a Cobbo get moved back there. But I like Reece Walsh. He's exciting down there, mate.
Yeah, those signings, they don't do a whole lot for me in terms of excitement. Even a Reece Walsh, I know he's got a lot of hype because he's the young guy and he's an exciting, flary type of player. But do we think a Reece Walsh is that much better than a, say, Tessie New? Or a Jermaine Osako?
I think he blows him out of the park, to be honest. I've been following him as well, and he looks like
I thought Tessie was really good.
He was, but I think Walsh is just that little bit maybe more reliable thing with a few things, and then he's obviously got the origin market on him. He brings a lot of flair. He fits into the culture really well.
The nightlife culture, eh?
Yeah. Keep the bags in your pocket, mate.
Stop celebrating those house purchases, eh?
The one thing I am a little bit concerned about for the Broncos this year is Payne Haas. Now, we saw there was a lot of conflict. He had like an early release from preseason due to family reasons. It was nothing to do with the actual Broncos organisation. Then we saw Cobbo calling out the coach earlier this year as well, who was a little bit worried about him. So I hope there's no friction in there because they've got a lot of exciting things ahead for them. But I think they finished 9th last year. I think there'll be maybe a little bit of improvement with experience, but we'll see.
That Payne's Haas situation's pretty volatile. He's always got a spot over here at the Wars if he's feeling a little bit, unloved over there. We'll love him and then he'll turn bad and we'll turn on him like we do with all the good players.
We can't pay him like he wants to be though, but...
Yeah, no, you're right there.
Pay him in mana.
You brought up Katoni Staggs before as well. Now, a few weeks ago, I saw that he was playing with a shoulder injury. I'm not sure to what extent all of last season. Now, we saw him obviously make his Origin debut. He's been playing on a little bit of a limp wing. I think that's pretty outstanding. Hopefully he's done some rehab on that through the off-season, and we're in for another one from Katoni. Now, we're going to discuss our final standings predictions. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the room and we'll read out where we think the ladder's going to finish. We're going to throw a post up, and then at the end of the year, we're going to revisit this and see who was sort of on the money and who wasn't.
I'm going to be way off, I can tell already.
I think we probably all will be, to be honest.
Now, what I'm going to do, I'll go first. So in first place, I got the Panthers. We talked about key losses, key gains. I think the youth is going to step up, and I think the juggernaut is just going to keep on rolling. In second, I've got the Roosters. Third, I've got the Cowboys. Now, Cowboys finished third last year. I don't see them slipping, but I don't see them taking that next step.
Okay.
I think they've got a lot of young guns coming through. They held a lot. They figured out the whole Tabuai Fido situation and really invested in Drinkwater. They're exciting, but I see them staying there. And fourth, I've got the Raiders. Now, the Raiders just made the 8 last year, but what the Raiders lacked at the beginning of last year was Jamal Fogarty. Now, Fogarty's had a whole season half a season under his belt and a full preseason. I think they're going to hit the ground running. We've seen the changing the guard in terms of, his name's escaping me now, The big boppers in the middle. We've got Papali'i and the man with the mullet. It's going to be interesting to see how they handle that next year. Now, 5th, I've got the Rabbitohs. 6th, I've got the Sharks. 7th, I've got the Storm. Now, Storm finished 5th last year. I see them dropping to 7th this year, but still in that 8. Now, just making the cutter, I've got the Broncos.
Okay.
Now, you may be noticing that there's no Eels in there. So as we go down, in 9th place, I've got Bulldogs, 10th Eels, 11th Knights, 12th Manly. Got the Wires in at 13th. Now, we're jumping a couple of spots from 15th last year. I don't see them making the 8, but I see some mathematical equations at the end of the year on figuring out if we can make it. In 14th, I got the Tigers. I see a little bit of improvement between Appy and Papali'i, but I don't know. They're missing a 7. I'm excited to see what Dewey does this year. 15th, I got Dragons. 16th, Titans and Dolphins. You've just been introduced, but you can have the spoon, mate.
Okay, I like it. No glaring things that I see there that are. Do you have any problems with this list?
No, but I have problems with my list after hearing that, because there are some of those signings that we went through that I just obviously
you haven't considered.
Not at all. Yeah. No, clearly not. So
why don't you crack into yours?
All right, okay, we'll go quickly and then we'll be able to. I'll get your honest thoughts.
Yeah.
All right. So same as Sammy at the top. Panthers at 1. 2, we're going with the Sharks. 3, Cowboys. 4, Eels. 5th in place we have Storm. Then we've got 6 is Roosters, 7th Rabbitohs, and then making the cut at 8th is the Warriors. The mighty Warriors are making the top 8. I'm
someone had to put them in there.
I'm willing it into fruition. And then we move on. Just missing, we've got the Doggies. Below them, Raiders, and then Dolphins finishing there in 11th.
Yep.
Ooh, big season from the Dolphins.
Yeah. No, I'm picking that I do well.
Wayne Bennett, he's proven.
12 Broncos, 13 Dragons, 14th Eagles, 15th Titans, 16th Knights, and then taking the wooden spoon at 17 is the Tigers. So this is all pre-discussion of those signings. Probably a bit of movement, which should be expected.
It's fluid.
I might call a mulligan on that and try and get my list to Sammy with some asterisks on it. But otherwise, I'm confident. The one thing I am confident is that the Wires are making the top 8.
I tell you what,
it's our year.
Keep the faith.
It's not terrible, other than the Warriors. It's not a terrible list. It's got a few hot takes. I'll tell you that, especially with the Dolphins. Maybe just considering they've got like a bunch of veterans in Tabuai Fidel.
No, I like it. It was pretty safe. So the bottom, there's going to be maybe a bit of chopping and changing. But I mean, we were talking about this.
You never know what's going to happen throughout the season in terms of injuries and stuff.
Exactly. I've got Manly sitting at 12th. I'm a Manly fan, but who knows what's happening with Turbo? I mean, if Turbo comes in, they might be sitting in 5th.
Exactly.
There's a lot of things to
So I
consider.
factored in injury, sort of the injury cloud around some of my picks, because you see Eagles have got Turbo with the hamstring, and then they've also got like Morgan Harper, I think, is out for a bit.
Schuster's having to step in at the rookie role at 6,
So there's a bit of question marks to some of these teams where the talent is good enough to be higher, but I've sort of considered that with my picks. So we'll run into mine, and I've got number 1. I've got the Roosters.
Yeah,
I've got the Sydney Roosters.
I was sitting on that.
I like Brandon Smith. I like the growth of Sawali. Tedesco's just the best fullback in the game. I see them maybe pipping the Panthers, who I've got at 2nd after those losses, and the Panthers are taking a step back. So I'll go for a different number 1. I got the Roosters, Panthers. 3rd, I got the Cowboys. I've done the same as you, though. I like what they're building, but it's maybe not quite time to take that next step. 4, the Sharks. I also like what they're building. 5, the Rabbitohs. Still a gun team, always going to be there or thereabouts.
Lachlan and Elias is going to be exciting to watch this year as well.
Yeah, exactly. And Eels, I've got at 6. So, man, after sort of discussing the losses of the Eels, that's kind of one I'm a little bit shaky on putting them so high at 6.
I mean, Simon brought it up perfectly. They were so shaky last year. They're dropping games to the Tigers and the Warriors and the likes of those teams that they should be beating, and then they're winning against teams that they should.
And something I noticed as well from the last couple of years in terms of their performance and their results is that you do notice they drop a few more games without Marnie, and now they've got him. He's gone completely.
The tackle machine in the middle.
Yeah, and he's just real crafty at sort of scooting out of the pocket and getting the odd 40-20 and really keeping that tempo up in the game. So, yeah, can I change it? No, we'll stick with them at 6. 7, we got the Raiders. 8, we got the Storm, still sneaking in. I'll trust that system. 9, we got the Bulldogs. They take a bit of a jump from 12 to 9.
I've had them sitting at
Still
9
just,
as well.
yeah, still just not quite going to break in with some of those, tough teams above them. But I think next year you might see definitely a top 8 Bulldogs. 10, I got the Broncos. 11, I got the Sea Eagles. Same reasons as you. Just a little bit of, uncertainty there. 12, I know I beat the drum as a Warriors fan, but I've got them growing to 12 from 15. So,
Yeah, no, I like
keep
it.
the faith.
Where were you, Sammy? 13th, was it?
Yeah, I had them in 13th.
So-
I jumped 2 places. So.
Biggest
You
hater
guys
over
won't
here.
be getting any home tickets. They're going to put me in a
Oh,
box.
is that why?
No, not at all. But if they come my way, I won't say no.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you send me some season passes, they're number 1. But no, we got the Warriors at 12 because we got to keep the credibility here.
Warriors tattoo for the loser of the betting.
Oh, well, we haven't even done our Harbour tattoo. A little background: me and Sam did a bet that if Harbour won, I think the championship, the second division ITM Cup, it was.
Don't
at the
just
time.
call the 2 of us out. There was a
Few
people in
others.
there.
There's a few others duck in. One of them's gone full way. Well, we haven't seen him since it. But yeah, if Harbour won, we'd have to get Harbour tattoos, and we're still.
Yeah, we haven't got those tattoos yet.
Nah, they're still coming.
I tell you what, if the Warriors make the 8, I'll get a Warriors one on my arm.
What?
Yeah.
8?
Yeah, if they make the 8.
Clip it. We're putting that one up. That's crazy. I can't wait to
I
see
can't
it.
believe you said that.
I'm
Yeah,
taking
I'm
every
making
warrior.
it, yeah.
I'm taking every warrior I
Look,
know.
I want
It's
the
just one.
Warriors to make the 8, but
Yeah.
I'm kind of confident.
13, do you? All right, so yeah, Warriors at 12, Titans at 13. I still think they got a lot of talent. The Titans. It's a really poorly managed, maybe roster and
got a lot of unknown
franchise. Yeah.
talent. Their half situation is
Yeah.
going to be very interesting this
And
year with
you're
Brimstone.
always going to have unknown in terms of performance with the Gold Coast Titans, considering the location of where they are, and
Exactly.
you don't know how committed some players will be with some of the temptations floating around.
No
Was there a
vaping
bigger
in those
bust?
changing rooms.
A bigger bust than Fafita for the Titans, like in any other team.
Oh, bigger bust.
Yeah.
Oh, are we going there?
I mean, just to interrupt you again, but I mean, yeah, I think that dude was a huge bust for the Titans.
Yeah.
Playing off the bench,
He
never
is.
really playing many minutes, and doing a lot of nothing on
Do
the
you know
field.
how much they're paying him, Sammy?
It's in the millions, but
Oh, okay.
throw
I'm gonna
him
say he is
away.
a bust.
To,
He is a
um,
bust.
to be fair to Fafita, though, I don't think he's being used to his credibility. Playing him on the edge and not getting him the ball enough. I know we talk
Yeah,
about
yep.
getting him involved and things like
Yes,
that. Now, what
yep.
did we see at the Storm? We saw Big Nouse on the edge. Now,
Yeah.
Nouse ain't going looking for
Oh
work.
no,
that man's
he
getting
sticks out
his
like
breath.
a sore thumb. Like,
Exactly.
yeah.
And we saw the work coming to him. So I think they need some experience in that 7 role. I do agree. Big bust.
Thank you.
But it's
Yep.
a bust on how they used him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, shame on the Titans. Go to the Raiders for Peter.
A good, yeah,
Hibiscus Coast.
yeah. Well, we'll take him there. And then so 13 Titans, 14 Knights, 15 Dragons. I didn't see much from the Dragons in terms of off-season. I know they lost a few people.
One thing that's quite concerning for the Dragons is we've just seen Cody Ramsey. He's going to be pulled out due to illness for the
Yeah.
season. Now, there was a lot of controversy in terms of Sloan and the Young Buckers being used down there. Now, Sloan got the boot, and now
Yeah.
Ramsey was in, and now Ramsey's out. It's going to be interesting to see how
Dragons,
they use him.
a few players not starting the season with some suspensions and whatnot. Amone is one. Talatau Amone.
Yeah, that's actually quite a big one. They've got Hunt has just re-signed. I'm glad that they made that deal, but yeah, there's not a lot of
Hunt's worth every penny. He's a fantastic player, but he's stuck with a bad team, so I got him down at 15. 16, I got the Dolphins, not the Spoon. I got the Tigers as the Spoon. So
I like it.
I think the Tigers, they made changes. They got 2 good additions in Coruscant and Papali'i, but they got a lot of old dudes in their pack as well. Clemmer, I don't like their pack. Let's just put it that way.
Look, the only thing that I have concerns about with the Dolphins is a new team.
Yeah.
Now, there's still relationships to be developed. They're not new signings going into a team that's already had their foundations built. So I just think it's going to be a little bit clicky.
Yeah.
I think one thing, I wish that they'd kept the Redcliffe Dolphins thing. All we're saying is they're called just the Dolphins. You know?
Yeah.
I want to see some like actual heritage, get some fans in there. It was a little bit of a shame.
You can't, we can't just have the one franchise be from nowhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What am I typing up? Dolphins,
Yeah.
Miami Dolphins,
Yeah,
or
exactly.
Redcliffe?
I mean, what are we though? We would, the One NZ Warriors. We're named after a sponsor rather than an actual location, so that's pretty messed
Wait,
up.
what's St. George? Is that
St.
a
George,
place?
Illawarra,
Yeah,
Oh, okay. I thought St.
St.
George was
George
like a bank.
and slash Illawarra. Yeah.
Oh,
it is
right.
a bank.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that completes all our tables. I'll get those posts up for us, and we'll put them in the back pocket. And when the end of the season comes,
Tell us what you think as well. Tell us where you think we went wrong, and maybe if we're snubbing the Warriors a little bit, except for Simon.
I mean, they could go higher.
Okay, let's move on to our next one. So, what player are we most excited about for the upcoming season? I'll go first on this one, just so I don't get pinched. Now, I'm going Matt Burton. Now, the addition of Reed Marnie and kick out on that left edge, we saw Burton blossom into what he did last year. His bombs just through the roof. He's going to have time and he's going to have space. It's going to be interesting to see how he plays off that seed from Marnie. I'm excited to see how he develops with his new additions. So I'm going Matt Burton. Okay. Simon, who have you got there, mate?
He took mine, so I got to think now.
I'm going to stick with my team for this year, and that's the Warriors. And one player, recent signing, and because I really think he didn't get to shine as much as what he should have at the Broncos. So Tamari Martin, I really want to see him do well for the Warriors. So he's a player I'm really excited to see, because there's also a bit of question mark about where he's going to be playing in the Warriors team as well. So I'm really excited to see him. If I have a backup, that'd be Shawnee. A big Shaun Johnson fan, and like you said before, huge off season, emphasis on the huge. So So I mean, I really want to see him return to some top form, and so I'm picking 2.
They actually just played that NRL highlights of him the other day.
Oh, he has got it.
I think it was up against the Storm. It was just nasty. I was actually thinking of putting a poll up on our thing, and I'll ask you guys right now. In their peak form, who would you rather watch, Benji Marshall or Shaun Johnson?
Not a question. It is so easy, Shaun Johnson.
I think Shaun Johnson, the footwork that Johnson had at his prime is
honestly, I'm kind of the same.
Outstanding.
Benji with those ball skills, the trick passes and all that kind of stuff, great to watch.
Yep.
But the way that Shaun Johnson...
And also fantastic footwork. Like, let's not sleep on Benji.
No, exactly.
For sure. Like,
but the way that Shaun Johnson can control players with his footwork, the way he breaks the line, and it's not just one or two. He's going along the line. He's finding a gap. Yeah, unreal.
If Benji was a prototype, then Shaun Johnson's the finished model. That
that's a great way to put it.
100%.
Great take.
And like, if there's anybody in the sporting world who even knows who Shaun Johnson is and hasn't seen his touch highlights, go onto YouTube right now after finishing this podcast and just type in Shaun Johnson touch highlights and just spend the next few minutes listening to some Chris Brown bangers and the people getting absolutely annihilated.
Chris Brown bangers and some right foot bangers.
Oh my gosh. Great long balls.
Shifting people off the screen.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Bang, and then big long ball. Yeah. Sheesh. Yeah, no, Shaun at his peak is probably might even go as far to say he was my favourite player.
Yeah, no, I like that. Entertainment through the roof. All right, mate, who are you looking forward to the most this season?
Ooh, so I was going to go Burton, because Burton's one of my other favourite players, because he's a gun. But I'll go one of my new favourite players, and that's Joseph Suwali. So he had a huge World Cup, and I know he's going to be on the wing, which is not his natural position. Well, it might be, but we saw him at fullback for the World Cup for Samoa,
and we saw some excitement,
and he shone. Yeah, so it may not be as exciting with him on the wing, but man, he's such a good player. He'll be doing hit ups, he'll be doing hits coming off the wing. I'm looking forward to it. Joseph Suwali.
A little while ago, I actually saw, I think it was Bloke in a Bar were talking about his ceiling potentially being as high as Falau's on that wing. And honestly, I'm
going higher.
I agree with it.
Yeah.
No, it'll be very interesting to see how Suwali
He's a lot, Falau's a big boy, but he's a lot more like, do we get the impression he's a lot more like muscular than Falau? Like Falau's a bit of a lean athlete.
Yeah, he was very lean. I mean, the sort of, he belonged in the AFL 100%.
Yeah.
But I mean,
he's still a big. I think he's still clocks over 100.
I'd say so. I mean, to be 6 foot plus and to have a frame that he does, he'd definitely be clocking in triple digits. But he was more of the leaner man than the others.
Yeah, 19-year-old with some grown man strength.
Yeah,
that's crazy. All right, before we end this, we're going to introduce a new segment that we're going to run with on all of our podcasts. So you obviously got the NRL take on it, and what we're going to finish on is something that's called a Jersey. So what we're going to be doing is each week we're going to pick someone that needs to have their jersey or whatever it is. It might be a surfboard there, Simon, or a golf club, rep the most. So we just want to shine some light onto some people and whatnot, some performances, or it might even be a throwback that we want to just shine some light on, whether that's someone that dropped, Kobe the other day and 81 back in the past or something. Just bring something up a little bit. So I'll go first now. Person that I want to rep the most, number 0 from the Boston Celtics, Jason Tatum. Now, he's just been named an all-star starter for the first time, which is absolute crazy. And the night of it, he went and dropped 35 and 19. So I want to shine some light on Jason Tatum. I thought that was absolutely outstanding. Heaps of credit. MVP conversation. Number 0, Boston Celtics.
Whenever he seems to be in the news or involved in like a big game, he sort of steps up and gives you a big-time performance as well. He's turned into a special player and he's turned into a superstar.
Yeah,
I think we can give him that label now. Yeah,
the media have played on the angle of him having a lot of his training time right before Kobe passing, and trying to get trained into that Mamba mentality. And I think him himself tries to play into that a little bit, and that's why you see him take over in those games, because he's that's what he's kind of trying to embody, is that just put it on my shoulders, let me take you to the win team.
The other night he actually he was wearing the Kobe 24 sweatband on his elbow.
Yeah.
Put that up. So I think this morning I saw some photos of him as well, rocking the Kobe and the Celtics warm-up shirt. So he's right in amongst that. Yeah, I'm excited for his ceiling. That's who I want to be repping this week. So, all right, let's get around
do you want to? I'll go.
Yeah, I'm ready whenever.
So I'll rep. I don't like the jersey in particular, but this guy needs some light shone on him because he missed out on the All-Star starters, and he kind of deserves to be there with his play. And the only reason I don't like his jersey is because his name's so bloody long on the back. And that's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yeah.
So he is averaging over 30 points per game. He's taken that next step to being towards a star himself. He's just kind of got a young building team around him. So you're not seeing a lot of team success from them, which may have cost him in terms of getting that light from the fans and the media and getting that all-star starters vote. But I think he deserves, a little bit of praise.
He deserves a lot of praise.
He deserves a lot of praise. Crazy. And he probably, if you splitting hairs and you saw the amount of games that Curry was out for, he might have deserved to start over Steph Curry.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Nice. He's playing with some tins and OKC. He's putting up some numbers.
But they've also got some good young talent.
They
do. The key word there is young.
Yeah.
Like, it's still building.
Yeah, Sammy, you put mine into my head. I had somebody else, but then you talked about golf club, and so I have to shout out man who's had probably the hottest start to a golf year in a while, and that's John Rahm. So he's run twice majors this year in 2023. Yeah, so he's a Spanish fellow, I think he is, and his handicap at the moment is plus 10. Right, so when he goes around the course, he's 10 shots under par on average from his last 20 rounds of golf, his best score. So that man is playing some hot golf. So if you were a scratch golfer, he gives you 10 shots. If you're somebody who makes a bogey every hole, you're getting 28 shots in a round.
Far out.
And honestly, he would still clean you up.
Yeah. Man,
so shout out John
my
Rahm.
handicappers would be shocking.
I'm probably just a bit handicapped swinging it. Anyway, so that's us for the podcast now. That's an NRL special. I'll get that up when I can. Give us some feedback if you guys liked it. Sure. If you want anything
questions,
else.
all sorts.
We've got a lot of things that are exciting to look forward to. We've got a few segments. We've got a couple of people that we want to get on the podcast. So big things to look forward to. It's great to be back with everyone.
Oh, yeah.
Big year ahead.
Hopefully it's not too tin can to listen to. Cheers for listening. All right.
Cheers.